Good evening and welcome to our presentation for the Love of Dark Skies put on by the Methow Dark Sky Coalition. I'm Dean Carrath. I will be the leader of the session tonight. We have a very special place here in the Methow Valley, and we have some very special dark skies. We hope to demonstrate this to you this evening and convince you that our dark skies are worth preserving. First, a little bit of housekeeping. I've got a sign-up sheet. If you're interested, please fill it out. The other thing I want to alert you to is that we're recording this. So just so you know that eventually we will edit this thing, and we hope to put it out on the Methow Valley Citizens Council YouTube channel. We'll also have a link on our website. Tonight we'll have a four-part presentation with three different speakers. First up will be Chris Estrada. Chris is a local astrophotographer. She's a member of our steering committee on Methow Dark Sky, and she's also our social media coordinator. Among other things, she spends part of her summer up at the Gulf Peak Lookout, watching out for wildfires during the fire season. Being up there also gives her an amazing vantage point over the Methow Valley and a gorgeous view of the night sky, as she can prove by many wonderful photos. Chris will be telling us about why our dark skies are special and why we should care about them. I will be presenting next, and I will be discussing how light pollution happens, why it happens. And we'll also try to bust a few myths about night sky or lighting at night, and recognize a few great dark sky lighting examples here in the valley. Next, Laura Super will be presenting her the upcoming Okanagan County zoning draft that should be out for revision soon. She will be telling us what it is, what it's not, and how you can help us get that code implemented. Laura is a member of our steering committee. She has been actively involved for some time. She is also program director at the Methow Valley Citizens Council. Laura has been in the valley since 2001, actively working to preserve our rural culture and preserve our dark skies. I will finish the presentation with a brief discussion about where you can find more information and about various dark sky lighting actions that you can take. With that, let's get started. Chris.
Right. Thank you, Dean, for the intro, and thanks for coming out. We're really happy to be here. Yeah, my name is Chris, and I do staff Go Peak for the summer. I just wrapped up my fourth season up there a couple of weeks ago. This is a beautiful photo that was taken actually by Jack McLeod of, this is looking at Virginian Ridge from kind of the Methow River area. So I I've been a lifelong enthusiast of dark skies, and I recently joined this group because I love that we live in a special place that we can walk out our front door and see the Northern Lights or see the Milky Way. I remember growing up in Indiana, and one of my favorite things was hang out in the backyard with my mom when I was young. She would get her telescope out and we would look at the stars. And we used to try to find satellites, which was really hard in the 1980s, not so hard now. One of the things I remember the most was we were able to see Saturn one night with the rings through the telescope, and it still is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It's always stuck with me how magical it was and just how awe-inspiring it was to look up and see that. Part of the reason I love staffing Goat Peak is the same thing. I have this really unique perspective of the valley, and I'd love to share the beauty of that. And from Goat Peak, I can tell just how dark our valley really is. During some conditions, I can see sky glow, sometimes from as far away as Vancouver, Bellingham, even up in Penticton, BC sometimes. And our valley is really, really dark. I've also seen a little bit of an increase in lights in the 4 years I've been up at Goat Peak. But I joined this group and they do a lot of community engagement. So I'll talk a little bit about Methow Dark Sky Coalition. Their mission statement is working to preserve, enhance, and promote dark skies in the Methow Valley. They partner with Dark Sky International, and they are part of the Methow Valley Citizens Council now. A little bit about what we do. There's a lot of verbs on the slide, but we celebrate dark skies. Earlier this year, we had a really lovely dark sky exhibit at the Confluence. I don't know if anyone was able to go and see the exhibit, but it was really, really lovely. We also had a panel discussion with several members of the community just to talk about night skies and what they love about them. This group also does a lot of education. Tuck is a retired NASA astrophysicist. He's a fascinating person to talk with. I love talking with him. He's just got these great little nuggets of information about the cosmos. So picture him at a Earth Day celebration, just helping to educate and teach, the next generation, get them inspired about the night sky and the universe. And we also do a lot of collaboration. This photo was from a star party at Perigin Lake State Park a couple of weeks ago with Ranger Alex Ott. And there were a bunch of people there really, excited to look through the telescope and see the stars. This group partners with other businesses. They've helped out with some stargazing events at Sun Mountain. And finally, advocate. So kind of what we're doing tonight, they really like to work with the community to help inspire, a love of our dark skies. And they also work with businesses to help them to implement dark sky friendly lighting and understand exactly how to do that. So why we're here tonight, the Methow Valley is home to some of the darkest and most pristine night skies of Washington State and in fact the entire country. And we really need your help to preserve them. What we have here is really special. This is a lovely photo that was taken by Karen Schuchart, who's also in the Dark Sky Coalition of just watching the Perseid meteor shower from, it was near Bear Creek Road. So the night sky is vanishing. More than 80% of the United States can no longer see the Milky Way. This is a picture taken by Jack McLeod of it's kind of looking at the foothills of Twist. And the Milky Way is it's gorgeous in this photo. And our dark skies allow us to get photos like this and to, step outside and actually see what a lot of the country cannot. So this is a slide from international, or from Dark Sky International that shows how quickly light pollution has increased. It shows from 1950s into 1970s and into 2025. And well, the Methow is dark. Here I use, that gave me a pointer, so I have to use this. Here we go. So we are right here. And you can see, there's light pollution to the west in Seattle, over east Spokane area, but the geography of the Methow Valley with the proximity to the state wilderness really does help keep us pretty dark over here. And a zoomed in view, we're really dark. So on a clear evening, this is typically what we can see, which is a view of Orion, and compared to what other people see. I put this collage of photos together because I think what we see in the Methow is so special and it's really rare. These are lovely shots that were taken by some local photographers. The one on the left was in the Rendezvous Ranch area. We have some beautiful Northern Lights photos, and then the suspension bridge there in Winthrop. a lot of people know local photographer Steve Mitchell, and he supplied us with this quote for a newsletter that I thought was really great to share. And this is also his photo of the Perseids from near his home on Wolf Creek. He said, "The dark skies of the Methow Valley create the perfect artistic canvas for capturing life after dark." A couple more beautiful shots of our dark sky. Full moon that's rising over Scud Horse Mountain. And then the photo on the right is Northern Lights over McClure. And one more quote from a local Ed Stockford. He loves to take nighttime photos. And he says, "I truly thank all of my friends and neighbors that embrace night sky values so folks like me can lay back in the grass on a warm summer night and feel very, very small." So I'll talk a little bit about the benefits of protecting our night skies. They're both a resource and a value. They're important for health and the environment, and they hold significant cultural and aesthetic values. Wildlife and ecosystems. This is actually a photo from my property that my little infrared, I call it pony cam, took one night, and it's pretty fun. You can see a great horned owl sitting on a fence post with my horses in the background. Thought it was just a neat photo, kind of showing, animals just out there doing what they do at night. So another benefit of night skies are bird migration. So we're in a pretty prime bird migration corridor. Many songbirds come through here. Lights at night can impact their migration because most birds do migrate at night. Insects and nocturnal pollination. So this is a really neat thing I learned from Dean, actually, is that moths pollinate at night. And artificial lights can impact that. This is a neat photo of a classroom in bloom with all their flowers and pollination. Another benefit to protecting night skies, energy and climate. Installing quality outdoor lighting cuts energy use, it saves a lot of money, and it also cuts carbon emissions. Human health. Research suggests artificial light at night can negatively impact human health. Another benefit, quality of life. Kari in the room actually took this lovely Northern Lights photo. If you've ever stood under the stars and taken a deep breath, you might have noticed the therapeutic effects of natural darkness. And our heritage, experiencing the night sky provides perspective and inspiration and leads us to reflect on our humanity and place in the universe. And finally, it's good for local business. Astrotourism is growing, and it does bring a particularly large amount of economic impact to cities and towns that embrace it. It brings people to an area, helps them stay longer to truly appreciate the location. And this is a photo of a stargazing night that was used earlier it was Perigin Lake State Park. And Dean actually had a really great description of this. He was there that night. He said it was just fun to see people lined up. They were excited to look through the telescope. He said there were little kids, up on people's shoulders waiting to look through. And everyone was really excited to be there and to be in a place where you can see the night sky in that way. This was a neat quote that was taken from another dark sky group. It said, "Darkness is an integral part of the identity of rural communities." And finally, one more quote that I thought was really nice: "Returning the night sky to its natural state as simple as thoughtful placement of outdoor lighting, putting light where it's needed, darkening areas where it's not. These solutions save energy, conserve resources, and restore ecosystems." And that's actually French Creek area at night. It's beautiful. So that is the end of my presentation. What I'd like to do is turn it over to Dean. I think we have such lovely photos, and we do have a photographer thank you slide, but I will say thank you to everyone who supplied those photos because it just shows off how beautiful our valley is at night. So Dean, if you'd like to talk a little bit about just light pollution, I'll hand it to you.
Thanks, Chris. That's pretty good. Yeah, this graphic shows how light pollution happens. It shows a very poorly designed street light, unshielded, blasting light out in a whole bunch of different directions. The area to be lit is down here at the bottom. That's the useful area. And that's typically a sidewalk or a street, or maybe it's your porch. Since the light's unshielded and it's blasting light out in all directions, we also get what's called glare and light trespass. Glare is when the light from the bulb shines directly into your eyes and you can be blinded. A good example is when you're going down the highway and the oncoming cars don't dim their headlights, shines into your eye, and it's really hard to see the road ahead of you. Light trespass is when light slops over onto the neighboring property, maybe going into bedroom windows. That can be annoying. Before I moved to the valley 10 years ago, I lived in a very nice dark place in Benton County, outside of the Tri-Cities in southeastern Washington. That is, it was dark until we had some neighbors move in that decided they needed to light their driveway. So they had the PUD installed what amounted to a full-scale streetlight, unshielded, right over their little short driveway. I complained to them that they wouldn't or couldn't do anything about it. Their light probably lit up a square mile around their property, including my bedroom window. It was so bad that I eventually had to go out and buy blackout blinds to keep the light from coming into the bedroom. The other thing I want to point out is that since the light's unshielded, it's sending light up into the sky, as well as lights reflecting off the ground and going up into the sky. That reflects off dust and moisture in the atmosphere, creating what's called sky glow. That's what makes it hard to see the stars in big cities. This photo was taken by National Park Service researchers from Birch Mountain, northwest of Wenatchee. You can see a whole lot of light coming off from the city. You can also see the light dome over the city. That's basically sky glow that you're looking at. This unfortunate lighting situation is the result of thousands and thousands of poor decisions about outdoor lighting implemented one unshielded light bulb at a time over many decades. I'd like to talk about a couple of myths about outdoor lighting. I mean, first of all, we all want and need some outdoor lighting for navigation and safety. However, take a look at that upper right corner picture and see if you can see the potential stalker. Not really, because the camera is being blinded by the bright light that's shining into the camera. In the same way, it's going to blind your light, or I'm sorry, you're going to blind your eyes. Down below, the hand is in front of that light, which allows the camera to capture potential intruder. The hand is actually acting like a shield on the light. What that points out is that poor lighting design can actually reduce safety. Well, it's a myth that more light makes us safer. Certainly some light helps, but there are any number of studies that can be found that indicate that more lighting doesn't necessarily make us safer, and it doesn't necessarily reduce accidents on the roadway. For example, there's a Chicago Alley lighting project that was performed a few years ago where they lit up side alleys very brightly, and then they monitored the crime. Well, crime actually went up because criminals could see their victims. They could see the walls to write graffiti on. So the point is that more light doesn't necessarily make you safer. And that's certainly been my experience. The only time I've ever been burglarized skies was when I lived in a brightly lit apartment complex across from a brightly lit mall in Richland, Washington. I lost some fairly significant things with sentimental value that still pains me 30 years later. So more light doesn't necessarily make you safer. If you're really concerned about home security, I can ask you to consider getting a home security system instead of more outdoor lights. The other thing that I think is effective that we do is that we turn on our indoor lights along with timers that randomly turn lights on and off so that it makes it look like somebody's home. Some folks like to put outdoor lights around their property because they're concerned about predators and bears. Unfortunately, those lights are only marginally effective. For example, we had some neighbors a few years ago that had predators killing their chickens. So they put up a whole bunch of lights that didn't really solve the problem. What really fixed their problem was that they upgraded their chicken coop so predators couldn't get in there anymore. We had a problem with bobcats. They climbed up the neighbor's tree, walked along the branch, got into our electric fence compound, as we call it, proceeded to walk around all over the property, strolled along our deck. All of this at about noon, broad daylight. That says to me that a whole bunch of outdoor night lights aren't going to have any effect on those cats or on predators. So if you're really concerned about predators and bears, and maybe you should be, I think it's much better to keep a clean property that doesn't have any attractants in it, secure your trash, put an electric fence around your compost bin, and bring your pets and your animals into a secure facility at night. Fortunately, light pollution is relatively simple to address. It's just better lighting design and more applicable use. The impact of bad lighting can be minimized by implementing proper design and not using it inappropriately. Of course, this is much easier done if it's done ahead of time. You know, for example, if you've already got some poor lighting, which maybe a lot of us do, it costs a lot more to go retrofit something than it is to do it right in the first place. For example, we bought our place on West Chewok Road. It has 15 outdoor lights, 6 of which are very bright floodlights. We found most of it to be generally unnecessary, and we simply keep them off. But I wanted to lead by example and also get some experience on what it's like to retrofit a whole house full of outdoor lights. So I spent about $500 and quite a few hours to get the lights and put them in. One thing I did with the floodlights was I just simply took them off, threw them in the trash, and put a $2 cover over the outdoor electrical box. The point is that it would have been a lot easier to do it right in the first place. There's a lot of winning involved in good outdoor nighttime lighting. Good outdoor lighting is a win for the users. That's all of you, because you can preserve the rural property aspect as well as your night sky. At the same time, you can reduce the money you spend on energy and bulb replacement. It's a win for your neighbors in the community because they don't have to deal with your light trespass or pollution. It's a win for wildlife because all of that light just doesn't affect their nighttime activities as much. It's a win for those who design, sell, and install fixtures. And it's a win for the night sky because it stays relatively dark and you can all enjoy it. The next 2 slides have pictures of some of our valley winners when it comes to night sky lighting, dark sky lighting. First of all, Sun Mountain Lodge. They're one of the premier lodges in the valley. They hosted 6-star parties starting in April and ending in September. Those were hosted by or put on by the Seattle Astronomical Society. I attended 3 of those, and I found it very easy to walk around the parking lot and the grounds at Sun Mountain. At the same time, as you can see from the picture on the right, it's very easy to see the Milky Way, even though they've got enough night lights to get around. Here are some other examples of local dark sky friendly lighting. The top middle picture is a tasteful lit sign at the Arrowleaf Bistro right next door here. Bottom picture is the Mountain Annex out on West Chewak Road. You can see the lights are all shielded, pointing downwards. There's not a lot of glare that comes out, and you can easily get into and access the facility with plenty of light. The pictures on the left and the right are projects that were led by the Methow Dark Sky Coalition to retrofit lights in Winthrop and at Thriftway and Ace Hardware parking lots. Kyrie Jardin, one of the founders of the Methow Dark Sky Coalition, led that effort. He worked with the metal shop at the Liberty Bell High School to design and fabricate these shields. Methow Dark Sky volunteers then got those installed, along with help from Triple T Roofing, who supplied a lift for some of these installations. We were very grateful that those businesses, as well as the town of Winthrop, were willing to work with us on that. At the same time, we were grateful to the town of Winthrop for allowing us to work with them to develop the dark sky lighting ordinance that was implemented in 2019. So as I've tried to explain, it's a lot easier to make the right choices up front on good lighting than it is to go and retrofit. It's a lot easier for an architect to design and implement tasteful lighting that's compliant with dark sky requirements for new construction or remodels. As our next speaker, Laura Super, will describe, the valley's growing fast and we need to take some preventive action. In fact, now is the time to decide, are we going to be like Mazama or are we going to be like Wenatchee?
Thanks, Dean. Can I borrow your analog pointer, please?
Right.
Thank you. Now, first thing, I apologize for contributing to light pollution with my outfit today. It was All right, so as mentioned, I'm Laura Super. I'm the program director for the Methow Valley Citizens Council, and I'm privileged to get to work with this great group of people on a variety of initiatives to protect our dark skies. It's really fun and rewarding program, and I hope that you'll consider joining us as a volunteer or as a supporter. I'm here to talk about a major opportunity that we have right now to add some regulatory protection to get at that prevention piece that Dean is talking about. First, a little background on why this is important. The valley is growing. You can see from previous slides that while there are some lights in the valley that might irritate us, we all have that neighbor that we know about that we want to deal with. It's still very nice and dark here. But the valley is growing. Recent studies by the Housing Solutions Network show a need for up to 436 housing units right now. And they've projected that need to continue to grow up to 1,572 units by 2040. And this is just thinking about affordable housing and the need for that. So developments are being planned right now to meet those needs, mostly within the towns. Within and outside of towns, despite some restrictions on new subdivisions in the valley, there are still hundreds, if not thousands, of lots in the unincorporated parts of the county. that are available for building. All of this means that if we don't have a plan to control light pollution from all of the anticipated building, both within towns and in the unincorporated parts of the valley, we could start to look a lot more like the Wenatchee photo in that comparison. Moderated for population, but you get the picture. What can we do to prevent that? Here's our opportunities. For the next few slides, I'm going to talk about the opportunities that we have to get ahead of light pollution before it becomes a problem here. One really great opportunity has come up related to the county's current zoning update, and I'd like to give you the tools to understand what that is and how to support it. Then I'll kick it back to Dean to spend a little time showing you where to go to learn more about how to do some thinking about improvements that you can make on your own property. The more we invest now in protecting our dark skies, the more future opportunities will open up to work together on solutions to our more tricky lighting problems. Through the county's zoning update, the Valley has an opportunity to raise our voices and make a difference. You may be aware that the county has been going through a process over the last 8 or 9 months to update the zone code throughout the valley, throughout the county. Many comments have come from the Methow during this period. You may have commented yourself, particularly asking for dark sky and ridgetop protection. The community's actually been asking for these protections for over a decade, but they've kept getting denied or the county delays it. And this is the first time, every year that we wait, our skies get a little brighter, and we're aware of that. This time something different happened, and we were heard by the county. The county's planning commission made a recommendation to the county commissioners to expand dark sky and ridgetop protection throughout the valley, thanks to all of those comments. Oh, I skipped slides too soon, but we'll keep going. Commissioner Hover in particular seemed concerned that the recommendation from the planning commission is only the wish of a few squeaky wheels. So if there are not robust public comments in favor of the recommendation, it may be dropped from the zone code, and we don't want to lose this opportunity. So let's take a look at the recommendation and what it means. But before we do that, let's talk about what zoning is. Zoning is the what and the where of land use planning. Done right, zoning takes into account community values that are established through the comprehensive plan and uses them to develop policy that then prescribes what types of uses will be allowed or not allowed in a given geographic region. The areas we are concerned with are the Methow Review District, which roughly covers the boundaries of School District 350, and then subunits A, B, and C, which are a little bit tough to see with this lighting, but this is subunit A that kind of covers, I'm not gonna leave. There we go. Subunit A, I just call that Greater Mazama, but it covers the area between Winthrop and Mazama. Subunit B, which covers the Chewok and Winthrop down a little bit below Twist, and subunit C, which covers the area between subunit B and actually leaves the Methow Review District and goes almost to Pateros, right where the Columbia River is still influencing the mouth of the river there. Those two sub-areas were added by the county commissioners to the comprehensive plan around 2022. So those are the areas that we're talking about. And the two most recently created subunits were created to allow for more localized planning input. The Mazama community, with their sub-area A, I think they've been in existence since the 1980s. And so that area has a lot more say over how things happen, and that will become important in a moment. So in the current Methow Review District Zone Code, you can feel free to read that. I'm not going to read it out loud. As it currently exists, the zone code uses light and glare language to protect dark skies for different types of uses in different places. The language itself looks pretty good. It requires pointing your lights down, shielding them. I forgot to bring my prop. I was going to shield myself as it's a pullable light bulb. Protects neighboring properties, exempts holiday lighting. So Christmas lights are okay as long as you take them down. maybe, and deals with illuminated signs. The current policy protecting dark skies also applies differently in different places. So in the Methow Review District, this area, the only uses affected by dark sky protection are in the realm of guest accommodations, you could say, inns, lodges, guest ranches, RV parks, campgrounds, and their associated street lighting and parking. So, not bad, but it won't help with all of the anticipated building because it doesn't address residential or commercial. In subunit A, so zooming into Greater Mazama, where they have more local control over their planning or have had for a while, the current policy protecting dark skies, the same language I showed earlier, applies differently. Because in that area, in subunit A, nearly all, if not all zones, are included in the dark sky protections. So remember, again, these include downward pointing lights, shielding, thinking about protecting your neighbors from your lights, protecting you from your neighbors' lights, exemptions for holiday lighting, etc. If Mazama seems darker than the rest of the valley, this protected zoning may have something to do with that. So hopefully you're getting the point. It's a little bit different. Once you leave Mazama, we're just talking about guest accommodations and not all of those other uses, including homes. In the upcoming zone code update, the new recommendation uses the same language we just talked about, but it expands it to apply to all zones throughout the Methow Review District and subunits A, B, and C, effectively covering the entire valley and including all uses like residential, commercial, and industrial lighting. I'm showing you the language as it was recommended by the Planning Commission. The other thing that was recommended by the Planning Commission that's really significant here is to protect ridgetops. Keeping buildings from being constructed on ridgetops will also help with dark sky protection while protecting our skyline views. So here's that same information in graphic form with the addition of ridgetop protections. These are the uses and the geography that will be covered if the county adopts the new recommendation into the zoning update. And then quickly clarifying what the zoning changes for dark skies would not apply to, just to make sure everybody gets it. Does not apply to holiday lighting. Christmas lights are okay. Does not apply to incorporated towns, like Twispan, Winthrop. That means it does apply to Mazama, obviously, as we discussed, but also Carlton and Methow, which are part of the county zoning. Twispan, Winthrop, we not really part of this talk, but we have done work with Winthrop so that they're improving their lighting ordinances, and Twispan actually sounds eager to work with the Dark Sky Coalition, so we're encouraged by that. But this recommendation by the Planning Commission would cover the unincorporated towns. And it also does not include existing homes and businesses, so it doesn't give anybody any leverage to tell their neighbors to turn their lights off. We still have to be nice about that. We still have to create incentive programs to actually help people switch out their lighting, and I think we're excited to do that as a possible next step. But it does cover new construction, and that would make a serious difference as the valley grows. What you can do is submit some zoning comments. I was hoping that we would have a zoning comment period announced today that I could tell you is going to take place over the next 30 days. I suspect that will be announced next week. So we're looking at mid-October through mid-November for a likely comment period on that. If you're an MBCC member or you follow MBCC's emails, then you're probably aware that we usually send out some emails along the way talking about other issues related to zoning. This is going to be top of mind for us. It'll be on the Dark Sky website. It'll be on our email list. So if you're not on our email list and you're interested in following along and learning more about other aspects of zoning or you forget what you were supposed to say here and you want to come back and learn, feel free to join our email list and we'll make sure to keep putting that information out there. It's important to include your support for the Planning Commission's recommended language to extend dark sky and ridgetop protection throughout the valley. And we always like it better if you explain it in your own words to get away from that squeaky wheel problem so that they really see that there's a lot of people who are very interested in this. And now I am kicking it back to Dean to talk about a little more do-it-yourself opportunities at home. Thank you. That was a really helpful prop.
Yeah, thanks for it. I've just got about 3 slides left here to finish up. I just wanted to tell you about the website so you know where to go to get more information, especially about light pollution. You can go to our website and find various things on light pollution, upcoming events, past news. We have a gallery with a whole bunch of really pretty pictures of the night sky. If you have questions or comments, you can click on that. That sends an email to the steering committee members. We normally get back within a day or 2. Or you can subscribe to our newsletter. If you signed up on our sign-up sheet, we'll get you signed up for that for you, where you can donate. Our informal partners are Dark Sky organization, International Dark Sky. One thing they have that's really kind of cool is the Get Involved button, and they have a bunch of stuff there. But one of the things you can find is to assess your home's outdoor lighting. And of course, if you have any questions about your outdoor lighting, you can contact us and we'd be happy to stop by and give you some pointers. Because having done the shopping myself, quite frankly, it's very bewildering. There are hundreds, probably thousands of choices at a whole bunch of different websites, and it took me a while to sort it out. And finally, on the topic of lights, I wanted to just talk about what basically amounts to 5 principles of good outdoor lighting. Light just the area that you need, shield it, point it downwards. I have a nice example right here of one of my favorite light fixtures. You can see the light bulb inside there. It's fully enclosed, and it completely prevents the light from spreading out onto neighboring properties. Shield and point the lights down. That's what I just showed you. It's important to use lights that only have enough light output to do the job. You don't need to light up a whole bunch of area. It doesn't need to be really bright, that's what I'm saying. Like some of those headlights, new headlights that are bright blue that are just really, really bright. We don't need those. Just get a bulb that's no brighter than necessary. In fact, you can look on the box of any light bulb, a box, and you can find the lumen output. If you've got to have lights on, you don't think you'll remember to turn them off, or maybe you're not home and you'd like them on for a while, we encourage you to use timers or motion sensors. And finally, use lights that are characterized as having a warm appearance. What that means is that you want it to have a relatively low correlated color temperature, which is given in degrees Kelvin. So we recommend any light should be less than 3,000 Kelvin. And you can see a couple examples here. There's a 3,000 Kelvin and 2,000 Kelvin. The reason is that those put out a lot less blue light. And blue light has been shown to be much more impactful in a negative way to human health. Finally, we want to thank the local photographers, some of which have been mentioned: Steve Mitchell, Lydia Kamansky, Jack McLeod, Kari, thank you, Paul Piggott, Aaron Schuchart, Steve Giambione, Ed Stockard, Chris Estrada, Don Rudolph, Christina Kuhl. I also want to thank Jack McLeod and Tux Devens for helping out with this presentation. They had a lot of valuable advice and made some of the view graphs for us. Finally, here's the QR code and our website address if you need help finding us.